Thank you for joining us and welcome to Marriage Gone Divorce. We'll be starting in just a few, so get your favorite drink, your snacks, and by all means, subscribe, share, and like. See you in a few.
I wanna run like I'm 18, but when I start up, I'll make it. My color's fading a little bit. I feel tired more than I ever did. I keep trying to find what I left behind.
Could y'all hear me? Now you can, huh? Oh my goodness. So what I was saying is thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. And welcome to Marriage Gone Divorce. We have a wonderful dialogue show for you tonight. And as we're waiting for some more to come in, I'm going to ask that you put in the chat and let us know. Just say hi to us and let us know that you're here. Let us know maybe who invited you, where you're from. And we're going to be getting started. We're going to do what I like to do before I start anything, and that is we're going to pause and we're going to take a couple of breaths, and those breaths are going to help bring us and center us right into the moment. I'm sure all of us have had a day to day. We've been about taking care of our business, working, taking care of family, and what all the things that we have to do. And sometimes it's unexpected. And when we get conscious and present with our breath, it brings us full center. We want you to be fully centered into the conversation. So wait a minute, ain't nobody said nothing yet. Just say hi. Say hi. Go ahead and say it in the chat if you do not mind. Let me see. Can you guys see my hi? Let's see. Okay. That was not what I planned to do. We're going to take a deep breath right now. Inhale through the nose. And on the count of 4, exhale through the mouth. 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale. Yes, it's that breath that reminds us who and whom's we are. Come on, take another deep inhale through the nose. And exhale through the mouth. God is so big, bad, and bold. He created you, he created me, and we distinctly different. And then said we created in the image and after the likeness in him. Who? What? Take another deep inhale. Inhale. And exhale. Yeah, I needed that. Thank you. TR says, Shanta invited you. And who do we have? Oh, and we have Francine. Hey. Thank you for saying something in the chat with us. We're going to go ahead and get started. We don't want to waste any more time. We want to give the ladies plenty of time to talk about the subject matter at hand, and that is seasons of divorce. I have their book right here, and we're going to give them an opportunity to talk about. Can y'all see that? Right? Yeah, right. Seasons of divorce, right there. And so I want to welcome to the stage Latrice. I have known Latrice for a few years now. I met her at LA County. We kind of we started in the same neck of the woods. And so I want to say welcome and thank you for being here. She is a dynamic, powerful woman. And I want to say thank you. And because of her, I know the other two ladies, okay? And so we're going to welcome Tam. Hi, Tam. And y'all already know I will botch your name. And so I'm really doing my best not to do that. Shanta. I got it. Yay. I did it. So welcome, and thank you for being here. Now, I was going to talk a little bit about your background and all that stuff. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you tell me a little bit about your background as I'll call you up. And then what I want you to do is talk about, at the end of you introducing a little bit about your background, talk about how you got from marriage to divorce. And what that means is we like to talk about that, we fall in love and it's going to be for a lifetime. and then we find ourselves in divorce. You don't have to get into the gory details, but just enough so the audience can connect with you. All right. With that said, we're gonna let Tam start. Wait a minute. Hit your mic.
Okay, what about now?
There you go.
Yes, awesome. Hello, you guys. Hello. Happy Thursday. And you're going to hear a dog in the background. I am so sorry. It's my mom's dog. Listen, I'm super excited to be here tonight. It's an honor. It's an honor, always an honor to speak on this topic. I know some folks think it's taboo, but for me, it's not. I'll just give a brief synopsis of who I am as it relates to this topic. Thank you for inviting me to your platform. I am the founder of Make It Rise, and I am also the founder of Life After Divorce, the movement. And so you and I met, Iris, last year, a year today, which is so weird. We met last year at my conference that I put on for those who are either going through divorce, is divorced, or struggling with the decision that they've made called divorce, right? I am not an advocate for divorce, but I advocate for healing after divorce, for whether it's a man or a woman. I'm here to lock arms with you. I'm here to share with you that there is life after divorce. There is a process. There is a journey. There are things that you're going to have to do that you don't want to do. You are going to become a new you in this season of your life. And as I went through my own personal experience of divorce, I had to learn exactly what it is that I teach, exactly what it is that I'm going to use the word minister, but the ministry that I have that comes through this thing called life after divorce. I was married for 14 years, in that relationship for 20. My ex-husband and I right now are cool. We are like the best of friends. Our co-parenting situation is amazing. That's one of the things that I would love to share about with those of you who may have children that's going through divorce. It can happen, right? Is it a process? Absolutely. Is there things that you'll have to do for yourself? Absolutely. The first thing is looking in the mirror, right? Oftentimes we'll say, well, we're divorced because of him or because of her. My question to you is, even if that's what the case was, my question is, what is it that you can do today with the information that you have to be the better version, not the best version, because if it's the best version, that means there's no more space or room for you to grow. What can you do today to be a better version of yourself as this divorced woman or divorced man? I want you to also know before I end that it doesn't make you a failure, because you probably, maybe the church told you that if you get a divorce, you're hell bound. Maybe mama told you, daddy told you. Maybe you watch couples or marriages just go through no matter what. I'm here to tell you that we're going to send that back to the pit of hell, because God did not call us to be unhappy or abused or anything in this thing called marriage. Now, if we're doing marriage the way that God says, then that's a completely different story, and that's another lane that I have as well. But I am so grateful once again, Iris. Thank you for inviting me here. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to share my voice, my testimony, and my walk in this thing called divorce. And I am super excited to share and to just say, there is life after divorce.
Thank you, Tam. Thank you so much. All righty, Shanta. I told you I bought you. I'll have it right by the end. I'll have it right by the end of the night.
You will. No, thank you so much. Thank you again for having me. I feel honored to be here to tell my story, to share my story. I met you. Had the honor of meeting Latrice, and have subsequently met you by my connection with Tam. I was invited to represent Summer in the book that she created, Seasons of Divorce. And I was able to initially share part of my story in my summer season of divorce, but also have the opportunity to speak at other events that Tam has hosted, where I've been able to share who I am, my story, and what brought me to this space. I was divorced in 2010. I can say that I am happily divorced, meaning I am happy with myself. I have had the opportunity to grow and evolve myself, learn who I am as an individual. You ask the question, what led to the divorce? What brought us to that space? And I think for me, honestly, it's me not knowing who I am and what I wanted as an individual. So if you're going into any type of relationship, not having a clear understanding of who you are, what drives you, what motivates you, or what you want, being led by or influenced by others that say, oh, this is what you should do, and this is who you should be, and this is what you should have. If you, the onus is on us to understand that for ourselves. Not knowing that, then of course I'll get into whether it be marriage or any other relationship, not having the clarity on who I am. And with that, how do we show up for ourselves, right? And so with that, any subsequent relationship is going to fail, right? Because we're constantly changing, we're constantly evolving. And if we don't have that clarity to begin with, then we can change to a completely different person and decide, oh, wait, this wasn't something that I wanted. This is something that I was encouraged to have. And it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be married, but what it does mean is have an understanding of who we are, what we want, so that we can be the highest and best version of ourselves. And with that, we can attract the partner that we're intended to have, right? And so in the book, I represented the season of summer. And with that, I had written some notes because of course, I always think about the different seasons, and especially since having done this book, I've thought about the different seasons and some of what it represents. Winter, if you think about winter is, it's cold, right? It's dreary. We're typically inside, especially for those that live on the East Coast and don't have the California weather. So what do you have the opportunity to do? You have the opportunity to reflect, right? To think, to reflect, to cozy up and figure out, what will I do as the weather changes, right? And then we get to spring, right? The flowers are blooming, things are growing, the birds are chirping in the air, and that's the season of renewal and growth. And so then it brings us to what I represented, summer, right? It's a season of embracing, our purpose and joy. What are we doing in the summer? We're enjoying time with loved ones. We're evolving. We're spending time with others. We're having cookouts. We're having celebrations. We're celebrating things. We're healing. We're rejuvenating. We're celebrating the freedom that summer brings. It's light outside much longer, during the summertime. So we're able to do things that are, again, more in alignment with where we're going as we prepare eventually, for the fall, where at that point the cycle starts over again, right? And so I was delighted to be able to represent summer in the book because, one, I'm a summer baby. I think Latrice, I think you're a summer baby as well. You're a summer baby too, okay? So I think it spoke to, I think, who I am at my core as it relates to rejuvenating and constantly evolving and being a reflection of the light, right? That's who I am at my core. That's how I try to show up in all of the things that I do, with some exception, of course. But with that, I want to represent, what it looks like during that season of divorce. It is something that you can grow from. It is something that you can find your light. You can find your joy again. You can, represent your highest and best self as you prepare for the other seasons of the year.
Well, thank you, Shante. That was awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. I want the next person we're going to have speak. The next voice you hear is Latrice, but I want the audience to remember you have an opportunity to get your questions together, and you can definitely put them in the chat so that we can ask them. Don't be shy. Ask your questions, okay? Latrice.
Hi, everyone. Yes, I'm Latrice, and as Iris mentioned, I've kind of known her now for a few years and excited about that. And I am the CEO and founder of LJ Speaks, which is a women empowerment company. And my goal really is to create platforms where women are inspired, they are encouraged, and more than anything, they are empowered. And so that's what I do throughout the year, in addition to my full-time job and the many hats that we all wear as women. But it's definitely a passion and a calling, and I enjoy doing it. And I think a similar story as Shanta, had an opportunity to meet Tam, and it's interesting how God brings people into your life. And we kind of talked about this. I had hosted a Christmas dinner. We had a holiday dinner, and Tam came with a mutual friend of ours. And we all, did this event together, had this wonderful celebration. And did not know, fast forward several months later, we would come together again on this project, and not even recognizing when we agreed that we were the same folks that had been at that table together. So you don't even realize like who you're breaking bread with and how God is aligning things and bringing people into your life. And so I was very excited, and it was actually, I would say, kind of an answer to my prayer. One of the things that I wanted to do was to publish and to write. And so this opportunity came, and I was like, wow, okay. And it honestly, for me, was probably the first time that I really talked about the divorce outside of my friends, my core circle, my family, because like this is public and we're gonna publish it and people might look at it and read it and all this. But what was awesome was it wasn't about your story per se. What I loved about the journal was, one, it was about healing, and two, it was about giving that that next woman, encouragement, inspiration, some scripture, some motivations, kind of what's your next. And so that was an opportunity for me. I was spring in the journal. So actually I was spring. And as you talked about spring, Shanta, I thought about it like, yes, for me, it was renewal. It was new beginnings. It's all those things, flowers blooming. I'd always been teased and kidded of, being amongst the clouds and dreaming. And so this was like my great space of kind of, blossoming. And what does that look like? And you ask, how did we get there? How did I get there? Uh, I don't know if there's like a one answer, but I would say, married young, but definitely had, my plan. I was that person that, there was a plan. We went to college and now I'm graduating and we're gonna do this. And we were doing what we thought was, kind of that American dream. You're supposed to do this first and you do that first and you whatever. And we did, I did that. I was married for 17 years and that relationship for 22. But I can say that it is not easy to go from a teenager to your 20s to your 30s and moving towards your 40s and continue to evolve and grow together. And so that definitely became a space where starting to question the partnership and questioning the growth of the relationship, but then also acknowledging the growth of myself. And so you talked about like starting to lose yourself and waking up and realizing kind of like, where am I in this? How am I reflected in this relationship and in this marriage? And even to the point at some point, um, did some counseling sessions and, which I would strongly recommend because I thought, what I realized and learned is one or two things are going to happen. You either going to go into those sessions and realize there's still something here and we need to make this happen, or you go in and realize this is it. And so for me, it was kind of like, wow, there's some fundamental things that we no longer agree on. We are no longer moving in the same direction and no longer necessarily want the same things. And so what does that look like? And it was a struggle for me because I didn't know the word for this, but I'll use this word now. It's a people pleaser. I wanted it to make sure things were right. I wanted, I cried over, I don't want to be a statistic. I don't want to, break up a family and a home and all these things. And I was told by the people in my core circle, family, friends, not to do it. Why? What was your reasoning? Like, I had to justify my decisions. And so I can say that it was the first time that I made a decision that wasn't popular, that wasn't accepted, but I knew in my heart of hearts it was for me and I had to do it. And whatever it was going to be, it was going to be. And I talked to my parents, I talked to friends, I prayed about it. It wasn't easy. It didn't go well. I had some days of like, did I make a mistake? But I was like, no, I have to. And so I will say Fantasia has a song in the song she says sometimes you have to lose to win. And
Awesome.
I believe, that was the truth, that for me, there was a loss, if you will, there is sort of a death, but what's important to me and what would be important to my message to anyone, and it's also in this journal, was you talk about there's life after divorce, it was really about you, like choose yourself, and like never give up on you. And I think that's very important as women, and the same for men. But this is supposed, I see marriage as an opportunity to grow together and to, blossom together. But when it's to the point at the detriment of someone else, or you're no longer getting to choose you, we need to reconsider. So, but as Cam
Awesome.
mentioned, not promoting, but at the same token, um, I do believe in bigger, better, greater.
Mhm. Awesome. Thank you so much. Ladies, you guys answered the question amazingly. I think it's right in line with the next question. You know, what we have found in doing these podcasts is that a lot of women and men um, feel stuck after dealing with the fact that choice has been made to be to divorce, to separate paths. What would you say, or what do you say to the person who says, "I thought I would be over this by now. I've prayed, I've journaled, I've sought counsel, I've even been in a relationship since the divorce, and I still feel stuck."
This may, some may not agree. Um, but I think oftentimes, again, just going back to relationships overall, all relationships are containers for growth, right? Is they're containers for us to grow, right? And I think oftentimes, to Latrice's point earlier, we allow ourselves to be in positions where we are people pleasing, and we're looking to do things that are, beneficial to others, or um, the ideas that have been communicated to us by others, right? And so then we take that idea and we want to live up to that, right? And then when we don't live up to it, then what happens? Then we feel, deflated, because we haven't lived up to the idea that someone else influenced or encouraged us to have. It wasn't necessarily our own idea, right? So if we're setting the bar here based on someone else's belief, but we only get up to about right here, so I can see it in the camera, we only get up to about right here,
Mhm.
then we are going to feel stuck because we haven't reached that bar.
Mhm.
Whereas I think that again, the onus is on us to be our highest and best self. So if
Mhm.
we take the position of, what does success look like to me? Did I do all of the things to achieve that success? Right? Have I done all of those things to achieve that success in my marriage, in my life overall, but in my marriage? If I've done all of those things, if I've set the bar here and I've done everything to get close to that bar and I'm right here, then I think that helps us to not feel as stuck, because we've done all of the things that we've felt possible, as opposed to, God bless our moms and our dads and our aunts and our loved ones and those around us. But where we stay so stuck on trying to meet their bar, then yes, we are going to be stuck, because we're meeting a bar that was put into place by someone else, not by our own doing, right? So to the person that feels stuck, what does joy look like to you? What does happiness look like to you? What does peace look like to you? Identify those things, journal those things, get a clear vision of what you want, so that you can set that in place for yourself, and you can start to feel unstuck. Because if we're trying to meet someone else's bar, we're never going to feel unstuck. And I think, for me, I remember being in a position where I had the same thing. I had family members that, felt, I was making the wrong decision because I made a choice. I chose to file for divorce. Oh, well, you have to do this. You have to do this for your kids, and you have to do this, you know, you
Mhm.
know, he's a good guy, and he's great in so many areas. Well, you marry him.
That part.
Right? Yeah, yeah.
I mean, and then, because you have a clear vision of what it needs to look like for you, and what the relationships needs to look like for you, and who the person needs to look like for you, right? But as I grow into who Shanta is intended to be, the onus is on me to identify what the dynamic needs to look like for Shanta. And as long as I'm going down that path, yeah, it's a lot easier to get unstuck than it is when I'm going down the path that someone else has envisioned for me.
Awesome. Thank you, Shanta. Tam, you got your.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think one of the first things I'd ask an individual that says, I'm stuck, or I feel stuck, or I go back and forth with this feeling or this emotion. I think the first question I'd ask is what have you or what are you doing to process through it? What work have you done? One of the most important things we have to do is accept, right? If we do not accept our location, where we're at, what we've experienced, what we're going through, then it's kind of hard for us to move outside of that box. And oftentimes what I found in having those conversations with men and women that says, God, I feel like I just cannot shake this. That's normally what I hear. I can't shake this, AKA I'm stuck, right? Why can't you shake it? Have you accepted your location? That's one thing. The next thing is, where are you trying to get to? What is your destination? So your current location and your destination are two main things that you need to sit with. But what's most important is what's in between that. How do I get from here to there? How do I unstick myself? What work do I need to do? What do I need to accept? Because oftentimes, as both of the ladies have said, our friends, our families will have us feeling extremely guilty. They will have us questioning our decisions. They will have us questioning ourselves, right? We start to believe that we are failures. And so because of that, we are stuck. But if we know that we have accepted, this is the decision that I've made, and these are the reasons why, outside of, because oftentimes we have to get to ourselves, right? We make decisions, and yes, of course, God has given us folks. He's blessed us with friends and family members, mentors, pastors that will assist us in not necessarily making that decision. Like, they're not going to make the decision for us, but we have to understand the importance of what we have or what we need is in us or right at our fingertips. What's in you?
Let me ask you this. I got you. I hear you guys, and this is awesome. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
How did you do it? How did you, when you were feeling stuck, or feeling the shame, the guilt, you go so far and here it comes again, or you get, how did you do it? How did you get through the process?
I coped in an unhealthy way.
Okay.
The first thing I did was begin to make sure that I looked a certain way. I was so hung up on what the people would think when they saw me. I didn't want them to think that I was broken as a result of this decision that he and I had made. I needed them to think that I was okay, but I wasn't, right? And so that was the first thing that I did. I coped in an unhealthy way. Once I realized, that's going back to the place of location, I had to, so everything that I said is from experience. I had to accept my location. Tam, you're no longer a wife, or you're not going to be a wife. Oftentimes, we are so connected to what we are, and because we don't know who we are. So once I began to realize, write down, read, who are you? What does the Bible say? Who did God say that you were? Because when I'm no longer a wife, I am still who God called me to be. When I no longer do all of the leadership and all of those things, I am still who God called me to be. So first and foremost, you need to know who you are so that you can begin to execute and operate from that. So once I found out or tapped into who I was, then I was able to move forward and unstick myself. Because I was stuck to who the people said I was. I was stuck to the 20 years ago when I first got with this man and how much he said he loved me and what we said we do when our kids get grown and move. I was stuck there. But what I used to be the glue to the thing to unstick the glue was getting in my word, connecting with who God says I am. And I understand not everybody are believers, right? We don't have everybody that is going through divorce. They're not believers, and that's okay. Getting grounded, you still need to know who you are, period. And that is the only way you're going to be able to move forward. That is the only way. That is the starting point.
So let me ask you this, Tam and Shante, And Latrice, I know you haven't said anything yet. So getting grounded, this is good. Getting grounded and knowing who you are and moving from the titles, because we all, part of the guilt, what you say, part of the guilt and shame is because the goal is, as a little girl, we're taught, as even little boys, we're taught, get married, have children, retire, have grandchildren, and only do it once, right?
Yeah.
And so part of the guilt and the shame is that the once is not working, right? And what we were told about marriage is not working in church. Let's just, it's not working. And so there's a lot of, what I'm going to ask you, do you feel like there's a lot, or what you say, there's a lot of false expectation? Even and even when we talk about unhealthy coping, what, because what is unhealthy for one might be healthy for another in that time of season. I don't know. I'm putting it out there with you guys. And so what I would like to ask you is, how would you handle that? How would you look at that question? I mean,
the unhealthy part, is that what you're?
No,
what
I'm asking. I got you. I realize that I may have said a whole lot there. So, so how do you deal with the guilt, the shame, the false expectations of a marriage not working? That's part of the guilt and the shame, and that the other people put on you. Yes, Latrice, it looks like you want to say something.
I do, because I think there's a couple of things there. And first, I want to say I don't think there is a right and a wrong answer, because everyone is different. And so I think that's the first part, because we start falling back into the people pleasing thing when people say you should handle it this way or that way. And so for me, for example, when I decided to file for divorce, I felt I had already cried so much and I had already gone through so much to make the decision. I was like, I don't have no more tears. So I probably didn't cry for about another year. And where someone else would be like, oh my gosh, she doesn't even show her. You don't know what I've gone through. You don't know. So, I mean, like just releasing that judgment of yourself.
There it is.
And I would
I
say,
like that.
I believe like this, for the lack of a better word, I call it victim or victory. And so I think, do you choose to be a victim or do you choose to have victory? And I can take that all the way down. Am I going to be a victim to my guilt, a victim to the guilt that has been placed on me by others? Am I going to be a victim to what people may say? Am I going to be a victim to the statistics? Am I going to be a victim to, this is what I'm supposed to do for the kids, all that. And each time, I mean, if you need to, like you said, write it down and check the box. I'm going to choose victory. And so what does victory look like in that situation? And so I would say there were some things that were said to me, in addition to the guilt and all those, there were some things that really, I would say, inspired me and spoke to my soul. One of the things that was said to me was, everything that you are waiting or expecting him to do for you in your life, you are capable of doing it for yourself.
Oh, that's good.
And I was like, oh, well, wait a minute. That kind of changed everything, because I'm going down it was supposed to be this, and we agreed to this, and what happened here, and we were on the right track, and what happened to, all those things. And it was like, well, why are you waiting for someone else to make a life for you? So you're sitting here waiting and life is going by, and now you're becoming bitter. That's victim to the bitterness, victim to the things aren't working the way it's supposed to be. So then make a decision. What does victory look like? Staying together for the children, staying together for the kids. That was a big deal. People told me that. I was talking to a young man. He had no idea what I was going through. He was probably a senior in high school, and he was just sharing about his family. And he shared that his parents had gotten a divorce, and he actually said, "Whew, I'm so glad they did, because I think they called themselves staying together for us, but we couldn't take it anymore, because they were seeing everything that was happening, and they were hearing the negativity, and they felt the bad vibes. And we think we are putting on a show for these children, and they know and see and feel everything." And, and so that was another piece. I was just like, wow. you know. And I remember being in the car one day and we were, you know, going somewhere, just a little at each other. Like it wasn't a big argument. It was just, you know, kind of like, And my daughter was in the back seat and she was like, "Stop it." And I'm like, I'm done. I'm done, because she's looking and she's watching. Am I going to teach her to be a victim of this, or are we going to choose victory? So it was really just kind of each time. And I will say that it wasn't just you did it and it was over, because you don't even realize what's going to trigger you. It could be 3 years later and something happens, you know.
Yeah.
Came to the county, I came to the county, 3 years later, and met someone else that was going through it. I was like, we need to talk about this. You need to be ready. This is real, and don't do it to get attention. Like it needs to be a real, those kind of things. And so I think it's kind of an ongoing process. Tam mentioned, about getting to know yourself and learning yourself. That took me a while. I mean, I knew myself in that moment, but I can honestly say who I was 5 years later and 10 years later. And now here 13, 14 years later, is still a different woman. It's still evolving. And there are still some triggers or things that popped up that you hadn't addressed, especially if you have children and need to co-parent and things of that nature. Things keep kind of popping up. And each time I have to choose victory. And what does victory look like?
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Good. So yes, go ahead.
One of the things that come to mind as it relates to shame, you mentioned the guilt and the shame. Mm-hmm. In all areas, one of the key contributors to shame are the shoulds, where we should all over ourselves.
I like it.
We should all over ourselves, because when others tell us, you think of us as women, where the clothes that we wear, right? Oh, you shouldn't wear this, you should wear that.
Yes.
And if we wear something other than what people believe we should wear, then we go out, and if someone looks at us a way, depending on our personality, we may feel, a little uncomfortable or a little uneasy, right? We're allowing other people to should all over us. And when they're shooting all over us, then we're taking their truth and applying it to us. And then what happens? We walk away feeling the shame, right? Yeah. So as opposed to, standing in our truth, one, getting clear on the why. That's the first thing. Yes. Get clear on the why. Why are we doing what are we doing? What we're doing? Why are we making the choices that we're making? Are they our choices, or are they other choices that we've wrapped in a bow and said, this is now our choice, this is what I want for ourselves? So if we're making choices for other people, if that's our why, then again, yes. Then when we don't align ourselves with that why, with someone else's why, then we're going to start shooting all over. I should have done this.
Yes.
I should have done what they expected. Well, again, it goes back to the onus being on us to make the choices that are in alignment with who we are, what we want, and our own whys, not the whys of, God bless them, but not the whys of our ancestors.
Wow.
Yeah.
We have to look. We have to go ahead, Latrice. Yes.
I just wanted to add something that just came to me is I think also we're answering these questions from the perspective of, as someone would say, I guess, the divorcer, meaning we made the decision. And so I do recognize having conversations where it wasn't your decision and it wasn't what you wanted. And and so it wasn't a should, it was almost like what has been done to me. And there's anger, and that's real. And there's, bitterness, and that's real. And there is, kind of the faulting and the blaming and all these things. And so I think even in those situations, Tam, as you mentioned, like, how do you become what God has for you? How do you become what you still have for you? Because you have to understand that your sole purpose here on earth was not to just be married. That could have been part of, but you're
repeat it. Repeat it. Repeat it.
Your purpose here on earth is not to be married. I mean, and I was even told that, your purpose is to be married and have children. Like, maybe that's part of the walk. But there's more to me. There's more to Latrice than that. And that was actually, I think, at the book signing event, Tam talked about how for many women, you lose your identity because you spent so much time being the wife and the mother that outside of this divorce, now you don't know who you are as the woman. And so again, I would say is choosing victory over victim. Okay, a decision was made. I didn't get to make the decision. It was made to me. Now I have to pick up the pieces or get it together. I'm left holding the bag. If those are the situations, how do you lead that to victory? Because you're more than capable. You're more than capable. And that becomes the sisterhood. For me, that was the journal. That was the purpose of the journal. Because I wanted people to know that there's something else. There's something else for you. And don't you ever give up on yourself.
Absolutely. And that honestly, that was, as you said, that was the purpose of the journal. And that is why I titled it Seasons of Divorce, because everyone is in a different season at a different time. And oftentimes we forget that I too was in my summer season, and I can help winter with what I went through in the summer, right? And I tell the ladies and men all the time, your transparency is someone's road to recovery. Do not sit with this information that you've experienced, because it's not only for you. Yes, it is going to help you move, grow, elevate, and move forward in life after divorce or during divorce. But there is someone that is coming behind you that is going to need your wisdom. As you said, Latrice, you started working for LA County 3 years later, and you met someone who was actually going through, and you were able to say, wait, hold on. Come on, let's process through this, because sometimes we go through the thing. And when I said unhealthy coping, I do agree that people cope their own way, right? But it's unhealthy when you're covering up what's real. That's what I mean when I say unhealthy. If I am covering up my real, true feelings, thoughts, emotions, what happens is I'm putting on a facade, I'm wearing this mask, and then I go home and I break down or I have a meltdown. When God is saying, I have given you people that is going to lock arms with you, to show you, help you, walk with you, pray you through this thing, or even just be quiet. Sometimes we need people to just listen to us and not even give us advice. And that is where we begin to do the shoulding all over ourselves, as you said. Thanks, sis, for that. Because we are so accustomed to people pleasing. And we please, or we try to please, right? And what happens is we please so much that the reality of it becomes null and void, and you don't know if you're healed or not until you're put in position to respond, healed or not. So while you think you have been healed because you've been pleasing people and they've been saying you're doing a good job, girl, you look good. Look at you. You lost all that weight. You cut your hair. You did this. You bought a house. They say all of those things, right? And then you get in position where you're triggered, and then you're put in position to respond, and you respond. Oh, whoa. What was that? That was unhealthy coping. That's what that was. And there's still work to do. And it's okay. Once you realize it, it's okay to say, dang, Tam, you still got work to do, girl.
Yes.
Yes,
that's good. Good. I like that. Yes, that's good. Awesome. Good. Ladies, so we have 4:43 if y'all okay. I mean, not 4:43. I don't know where that came from.
It's 4:43 in some countries.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's called I need to do some work.
I love it.
We have 44 minutes. And we have a couple more questions I want to. This is really good. I like it. Audience, if you have any questions, don't be too shy to put it in the chat. One of the things I want to ask Tam, because you said something, and I was looking at in the book, you talked about you have winter, there is life after divorce. You said you are cool with your ex now. How did you get to cool with your ex now?
Girl, it was a process. Okay. That was not an overnight thing. And I talk about this often because people will they will watch us, they watch our interactions, and they question, do you guys miss each, like, what is that, right? I am so glad that God has given me wisdom. He has matured me and grown me up in this season of my life where I can accept. It's all about acceptance. I accept that what happened. I accept that it didn't work out for us. I accept that I am not just a wife, as Latrice said. I can be a friend. I can be a co-parent. And so
Mm-hmm.
the process to that, the journey of getting to where we're at today, it was ugly, right? I was bitter. I wanted what it wasn't. I wanted to continue to move forward, and he didn't. And I had to accept that because I put myself in this box where I am doing everything right. So how could you not? How, sir, it's me. I mean, hello, right?
Mhm.
I'll
I
be
look
honest with you.
good.
That was exactly how I felt about myself. And let's be
Right.
clear, I still feel that about myself. I'm a
Absolutely.
whole experience. I get that. However,
Don't get
I'm
it
not
twisted,
perfect.
baby.
Period.
I'm not perfect. And so there's still things that I need to do. However, if you aren't willing to do it, you will find yourself continuing to be angry with your ex-spouse. And as a girlfriend of mine say, Carol Hart, she says, you'll find yourself with your husband angry
Mm,
still, right?
mm.
And
Wasn't.
so what
Yeah, I
he and
love
I
it.
had to do was agree of the new relationship. So here's the thing, you divorce, the relationship never ends, it just shifts. You do not end the relationship. The relationship changes. And so now you have to put yourselves in a different compartment. How do we get along? How do we communicate with each other? What's important to us as a team here? Whether you have kids or not, I don't care if you do not have kids, you still have a relationship with that person. And I know people are questioning that. I don't have a kid with him. You don't have a kid with him, but you cannot act like you've never met him. There is some type of connection there.
Mhm.
How you move in it is one thing. And so we had to accept where we were and where we were going. That's that. Where are we and where are we going? How do we get there? So there were times where we got distracted on the destination before getting to the destination. There were times where we had to turn around and go back to where we started. There were times where we didn't talk, which only made us stuck, right? So it's a lot, and to each his own. Everyone has to do it their own way. I cannot say Tam and Joe did it this way, and that is going to work for Shanta and her ex-husband. I can't say that. But what I can say is, let us be your hope. I say that all the time. Let us be hope that
I
it
like
can
that.
happen. When I
Mhm.
say there's life after divorce, there's life after divorce with your ex, but just in a different compartment.
Well, praise the Jesus, as my child would say.
Okay, Tam.
Okay, Tim. There's life after, she said. Well, Latrice, you said no, no. I'm just. I love it. This is good.
And I noted in the chat, to Tam's point, energy is neither created nor destroyed. It only changes form.
Yeah.
It just shifts to something different.
Awesome. Yes, energy. And I wonder why that didn't come up for me over here. And I'll type it. Energy is not changed, right? It only destroyed. It's not
It only
destroyed. It only
transmutes.
changes.
It only
That's
changes
right. That's
form.
right.
And I
That's
think
real talk.
yeah, and I think you talk about, you talked about a little of how things changed. And so I feel like definitely for us, there was, you know, the part of blame and upset. So we went through that process. And then there was the part of co-parenting. And then there was the breakdown of the co-parenting. And then what does that look like? And so I shared, you get into those spaces where you find yourself triggered again and you find yourself kind of going back in these spaces. And then I had to choose victory over victim again. So for me, I had to get to a space where I decided that I would no longer spend my time pouring into someone that wasn't pouring into me. And
Mm.
so that's what we look like now. That's how our walk is. And because
That was good.
and it's not about being transactional, but it definitely was not reciprocal. And it was starting to be pointed out, like, you're spending a whole bunch of time trying to show up and make things what they're not, even after the fact. So why did you make the decision if you still, and I realized because I was still people pleasing and I was still trying to, and it was not conducive to me. It wasn't conducive to my next relationship. It wasn't respectful to the next relationship, that it wasn't pouring into me. And so it was a no. So.
Awesome. Love it. Okay. What would you tell someone considering marriage? what would you say to someone today after you've been through marriage and divorce? Yes.
First and foremost, get clear on who you are, what you want, and if that requires going to seeking wise counsel, whatever that looks like for you as an individual, do that first. Do that first. Because otherwise, if you're going in, you don't even know what you want. This is or you're being clear on your why.
Yeah.
Right. Quick fun fact. So I had my oldest daughter when I was 18. She just had her 35th birthday. And I knew that I wanted to get married, and I knew that I wanted to have more kids. You know, that shame that you talked about? I wanted to get married and settle down and marry a good guy. I wanted to marry I keep doing air quotes. I don't know why. I wanted to marry I wanted him to look like this. And all of that, and I think about this now, my why went back to shame. My why wasn't associated with who I was. My why had everything to do with, oh, I don't want people to judge me. Oh, if I have kids again, I want to be married. Oh, if I want to say that I was able to get married. Like all of these things that have to do with shame, none of them had to do with, okay, who am I? And as quiet as it kept when I got married, I didn't even know who I was. So that just further compounded the issue, right? So if someone's going to get married, yeah, be clear on who you are. What makes you tick? What do you want? What do you truly want? Not based off of a stigma or, things that have been passed down, but be clear on your why. Go to counseling, seek wise counsel. Yeah.
Love it. Tam?
I definitely agree with everything that Shanta said. I'd also make 2 points. I'd say make sure that you understand that love is not enough. Love is not enough. Because the things that I did in my marriage, or the things that my ex-husband did in our marriage, was not because we didn't love each other.
Yes.
There's so much more to that, right? And love is not going to keep you together, because we loved each other. Although we divorced, we still loved each other. Yeah. Right. I'd also, the second point I'd say is, if you aren't ready to serve, you aren't ready for marriage. And marriage is all about serving the other person. How can I serve you? Right. And if we are both reciprocating that thing, then the marriage can be fulfilled. And so those are the 2 points that I'd make if I was talking to someone who wanted to be married again.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Latrice?
I would agree with all of those. And I would say, make sure like you're choosing this person and this person is choosing you. Because I think, as you said, we kind of, Shanta kind of mentioned, like we get caught up in the image of it all, or what it's supposed to be. And like, it's not easy. There's going to be like some tough moments. And so that whole, because you think this is just going to make you happy, happy is real subjective. And what does that look like? And so I think it's important that, who you are and whose you are, what you're willing to give and what you're not willing to give, so that you can kind of see as these things are going along. I think it's important to have like those real conversations and those real questions. I think for me, looking back, we got to a space where it was like, what is it that you want for yourself? And what does this other person want? And so having those real conversations and check-ins, because it's very easy to get just kind of caught up in the day-to-day and doing, and then look back and like, well, how do we get back to one another? So I think that's, very important, of being very cognizant,
Love it. Love it. What would you tell someone considering divorce?
The same. Because again, I think it's having those real conversations, and what is it that you're expecting from this person, and what is it that this person expects from you? How much are you really willing to give? and there's that thin line, there's that gray area, Tammy, you said, being willing to serve. And, I said like pouring into someone who's pouring into you. But that doesn't mean lose yourself. And there's a difference. The other thing that I think that, we hear a lot about now that I don't think we talked about when like I was a teenager or young adults, or maybe I just wasn't listening, but this ideal of being honest about like the baggage that you're carrying and some of the trauma and unhealed spaces. And they also have baggage and trauma and unhealed spaces. We got to be real about those things and talk about that stuff. And, because some of those things you just work together on, and some of those things are bigger than us and they need professional addressing. And, marriage is not about losing yourself. There's sacrifice, there's serve, but not lost. That there's a difference between those things. And so, and moving into divorce, like, what does that look like? And I would say, choose victory. Whatever that looks like to you, choose victory. And do not choose divorce as that plea that you think, I'm gonna pull this divorce card and then they're gonna change up on me. They probably are right up the door. If that's the reason, and I say that only because I did know people who really were kind of using it as a threat, as an ultimatum, and that's not love either.
Awesome. In your chapter, in your section, you say being a divorcee is a perspective. She's consistent with the victory part of it. You can choose victim or choose victory. I encourage you to choose victory. And so that point was made. You get to choose. You don't feel like you have a choice sometimes, but you get to choose. Awesome. Okay, I have enough. Always, Tam, what would you consider in divorce?
The why, the real why. Oftentimes we make decisions, emotional decisions. And what I normally do is I send people away for whatever amount of days, time, or what have you. And then I have them come back to me and we talk about the why. Because oftentimes when in the moment, I'm just over it. I'm over it. I'm tired, right? Which could be valid. But sometimes we have to let the dust settle, right? We have to go through everything. Is it really to that point? Have we done a process of elimination? Have we done the process of elimination of everything? Have we tried everything? And whatever your everything looks like, I want to make sure that you actually go through all of those things before actually saying, I'm pulling the cord.
Yes, I like that. Shanta.
The word that comes to mind for me is expectations. I think that a lot of the choices that we make are based on our expectations, and our say a 30-year-old, the expectations of a 30-year-old might not look the same once you're 40, right? There's that whole concept of new level, new devil. And I think that it applies to all of us, right? We're constantly evolving and growing, and we're constantly changing. And are you making the decision to divorce based off of expectations that you had going into the marriage? Because the reality is, depending on the amount of time, you might not be the same person. And maybe there's a possibility that there can be some adjustments to those expectations, and have those discussions been had, right? We are all women, and I love us all. And at the same time, I think it is a common occurrence for us as women to have these unexpectations in our head. And then when they go unmet and we haven't communicated them with anyone, then it's like, you're not doing this. Well, have we communicated that? Have you communicated that? Because if that's an expectation that I have in my head, or I'm discussing it with Tam, girl, he didn't even buy me flowers for my promotion. Well, in his mind, you have allergies. I didn't even know that you wanted flowers. Because we think differently, right? And so when we get to the space of wanting to file for divorce, is it based on, unmet expectations, and have those been communicated and fully vetted? And again, have we sought wise counsel? Because wise counsel looks different for all of us.
Mhm. Awesome. Awesome. And Miss Shanta, did I say it right finally?
You're right.
Okay. Okay. When I
Shanta.
Shanta. Okay. When I decide to heal with intention and with purpose, I have decided to prioritize the love for myself and my future over the hurts of my past. And everything she shared tonight has been in line with that quote that's
Mm.
in the journal. And so I want to say thank you for that. Okay, we're going to go ahead and ask you the last question of the night, and that is, what would you tell your younger self?
Mm.
There's so much I would tell myself, my younger self, but as it relates to marriage or divorce.
It doesn't. Whatever you would
So,
tell,
so what?
yeah.
So, just in general, something that I would tell my younger self, because I think knowing who you are is just so important. It is so detrimental to the decisions that you make in life in general, whether it be marriage or divorce. And so I tell my younger self to tap into who God created you to be. Know who she is before you allow others to tell you who you are. Um, we have to understand. I love God, y'all. So I'm just going to put it out there. We
Go
have to
ahead. Yes.
understand that until we know who we are, before we may know who we are, the enemy knows who we are. And he will act according to that. And so we'll have these, and I just said something about this today. We'll have this aha moment way after he's already began to do tricks and all the things he needed to do to slow us down. So we go into knowing who we are with doubt. We go into knowing who we are with question, right? Because he's already worked ahead of us. So I
Mhm.
tell younger Tam, as soon as you get there, begin to dig into who God created you to be and be that. Lock arms with those who can pour into you, that can plant the seed, that can water the seed so that God can get the increase.
Awesome. Thank you. Latrice?
It made me think, and so I would say something similar, and just that, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. My daughter is 25, and so you talk about my younger self.
Oh,
That's me. That she is my younger self, and so
uh-huh.
it's kind of that. What are these conversations? And I'm like, do the things that are important to you. Choose you in this moment. Build you, do you, because the rest will come. You know,
Mhm.
if you know you, if you know that you're fearfully wonderfully made, then you'll look for a partner that recognizes that you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and you'll both can continue on that journey. So I think that's important. Just really, just said, knowing who you are, and that's easier said than done, because I think those are kind of revelations that unfortunately many of us, just kind of came across in these very late years, and you're like,
Yes.
whoa, what if I
Yes.
would have known.
Man.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think during the pandemic, I started a Bible study that really started getting into like your identity in Christ. And I called all my young adults, like, we got a lesson. Cause my class is on Tuesday, yours is on Sunday. Cause if I would have known what I know now when I was your age, so breaking
Yes.
those generational curses.
Yes. Yes. Love it. Shanta.
My younger self, I would first tell my younger self to heal,
Mhm.
be brave enough to heal.
I love it.
Yes.
Yes.
Be
Yes.
brave enough to heal. You can't change what you don't acknowledge.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
And what you don't acknowledge and what you don't change will carry over into every area of your life.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yes.
once you start with that, everything else spills over as it should, right? Or evolves as it should. So be brave enough to heal, identify those hurts in those areas that are pain points, allow those areas to be healed so that, again, I keep saying it, but we can become the highest and best version of ourselves.
Yes.
Yes, yes, that's awesome. Good, awesome. Ladies, this has been
Thank you.
powerful. Powerful. I think it's been a dynamic conversation. And I want to say thank you for allowing yourself this to share and transparently. That's what this is all about. You guys have all said it about being able to share with someone else the journey, the process, where you are, where you've been, what you've gone through, and that it is ongoing. You will have triggers. I learned something tonight that I had never considered, and I will not say it on camera, but no. Just in case somebody see it. No, just joking. But no. So I want to say thank you. Any final words? The audience, do you have anything you want to ask, say? Any final words before we say good night to the beautiful peoples? We want to make sure that they can get in contact with you. I know, Latrice, you have a conference coming up. You want to talk about your conferences coming up?
Absolutely. So November 16th, it is our third Greatness is Your Journey conference. And this year's theme is Clear the Clutter. It's Clear the Clutter. And it's really going to be about women coming together and, doing the work in all areas of our lives and sharing together. We also have a young adult component. So I'm very excited about that. This will be the first time that we have a panel of young adults, and we are featuring the It's a Discussion for Me podcast. They are actually attending as well. Iris actually attended last year and was one of our guest speakers. And so I'm really excited about that. And anyone who is interested, it's on my Facebook page on LJ Speaks, as well as my personal, which is Latrice Marie, and would love to have you involved. It's also on Eventbrite.
And that's LJ Expense. Y'all, I must be getting tired. I said expense. So LJ Expense. And that's on Facebook. I do have a flyer that we will be putting up for to share with you guys. November the 16th is called Clear the Clutter, and it's on LJ Speaks on Facebook, Instagram, and events. Okay, awesome. And we will make sure at Eventbrite, we'll make sure that we get the information. Tam, you want to tell people how to get in contact with you?
Absolutely. You can just go over to Life After Divorce _Life After Divorce _ on Instagram, or Make It Rise on Instagram. You can also reach me at Tamara Catrice on Facebook. Send me an inbox message. My website is tamarajohnson.net. Send the information there, contact information, and then we'll send out everything that we have coming up.
It's tamarajohnson.net.
Yes.
Okay. All righty. We put that in there for you. Life After Divorce or Make It Rise. That's on Facebook, Instagram, or tamarajohnson.net. All righty. And then, I'm still scared to say it, Sean. So sad.
You're fine. You're being way too hard on yourself. You're fine. Let's see. I have a few areas you can reach me. I do have a YouTube channel, Limitless Living with Shanta. I also have a website for my hair collection, sajaycollection.com, SAJJE collection.com, or my Facebook profile, Shanta Austin, on Facebook.
SAJJE
collection.com.
All right. And we'll make sure too that when we share the information that we will have your limitless living. Let me tell you, your hair is beautiful, by the way, too. I saw some of that and I was like, girl. With Shantae is her YouTube channel, and then sajjcollection.com, and that's her tag as well on IG and Facebook. Thank you, ladies. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule and sharing. I know this is going to bless some hearts, and maybe we can have the men next time, because I really would have them, because they have something to share too, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you. Appreciate you taking the time. and we will see you next time. Thank you, ladies.
Bye.
Thank you so much. It's been a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Absolutely.
Good
Good night.
Good
Good
night. Good night.
night.
Good night.
So I want to say thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. We have had an awesome broadcast tonight. I appreciate you taking the time out. Make sure you share. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like. Make sure you keep the conversation going. Okay? It is important. Someone said it tonight, and it's been a saying that I've said many, many times: what we don't reveal cannot heal. So we have to, as we continue to allow ourselves to be transparent and have the conversation, have the conversation, as we know one of our people would say. So thank you, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for the good vibes and for joining in the conversation tonight on Marriage Gone Divorce. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.